Hello, welcome. This is Katie Cardowan once again, welcoming you to an inspirational session, I hope, to help you unlearn more in your daily lives. And today's topic is about colliding values. And I'm going to share a story with you that is true, that happened to me some 12 years ago. And I hope you can see the lessons learned and the lessons unlearned from that, which has been very significant in my career after 2010. The reason why I am focusing on unlearning is because I find it extremely helpful when I meet my clients and people that I work with in my assignments to address the unlearning paths. Because unless we are conscious about making decisions to unlearn, we will repeat our patterns from the past. And in this time and age, we are probably not served by maintaining those without being very conscious about why we do them. And also, it makes it easier to focus, to get niched, and also, of course, to attract new opportunities when we are constantly unlearning the things that are outdated, not serving us anymore. And it will serve also as something that is inspiring to the surroundings, to people we care about and the people we consider our professional stakeholders. So welcome to those of you attending live. And if you have any comments or a question, you might pop it into the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you're watching the replay, feel free to add a comment or send me a PM and I'll get back to you afterwards. Why have I chosen the topic of the colliding values? Well, let me start by sharing a story from early days of 2010. I had just left corporate and I was going to launch my own coaching business. And I had learned quite early on to create my own website. I could use WordPress. I could set up, configure a template, add some widgets. I had the content all lined out. And then I didn't do it. I had the technical skills, and all I needed was maybe 1 to 2 days to get it up and running and fully tested. And I didn't do it until 9 months later. And I was hitting myself for this because I needed that website. I needed to be visible. I needed people to be able to find me online. And I was telling myself, the story I told myself was that I was a procrastinator. And I was hitting myself for being a procrastinator. And I'll get back in a little while to what actually happened and what I learned from that. But this is something that I see with many, many people that I meet, that we are apparently procrastinating, and then we're hitting ourselves for being procrastinators, and we are focusing on that as an issue, as a problem. Could it be that instead we might actually be subject to the battle between our own colliding values? In many cases, that seems to be appropriate. So I'll give some examples throughout this presentation, and then I'll get back to the example of me using 9 months to launch a very simple website back in 2010. So I'm going to share some personal examples today, but these are really also very, I would say, typical from what I meet with people who are looking into their careers. They are wanting to making decisions about a new career or changing the way they serve in the marketplace, maybe building their own business, or maybe assuming a portfolio career and positioning themselves for new opportunities. And many times we return back to decisions not being taken, being put on hold. And I hear that theme again of, it's typical me, I'm a procrastinator. And then we dive into that a little bit more in detail to check whether that's true or not. And sometimes it's absolutely not true. And it's quite rewarding to see what happens next. So let me share some examples with you. And as I go along, maybe you will recognize some of the stories that you tell yourself. Maybe there's a different story that you're telling yourself and repeating that is stopping you from actually making progress, getting a breakthrough, and getting closer to what you want to accomplish. So please keep that in mind as you go along, and make a note to yourself and bring that up with a close friend or a coach or somebody you trust to discuss and to bounce some ideas around that, because maybe you're onto something that could be really clarifying and help you unlock a position where you're not making some very important decisions. What I discovered was that when I looked back to that episode back in 2010, I had the technical skills to launch a website pretty quickly, a couple of days. I had the content all lined out, and I had a business need to become more visible. But despite all of that, I didn't do it for 9 months. And at the same time, I was working with a coach who helped me look at my own values. And during that process, I became aware that I had a number of values that were actually a little bit colliding. And I'll give you some examples. So one of my values could be expressed like this: I always want to help others become bolder. I need to walk the talk, so I also need to become bolder. And here I am, not even making my own website visible. What is that all about? And I was hitting myself for that. A second value that became apparent to me was this one: I want to be respected. I want people to respect what I show up as and to see me as a serious professional. And I wasn't sure whether I would succeed in doing that by launching my first website. And then I had a third one, a third value that showed up. I was terrified, and still am actually, to come across or to be perceived as somebody who's a self-promoter. And as you probably noticed, some of these are not actually working well together, right? So in terms of becoming visible and claiming my spot and making sure that I had a good story, that people would be attracted to me and my business in terms of asking for my services, these were all in conflict. Hence, I didn't act until 9 months later. So by end of September 2010, I can still remember this day, my heart was, really getting up to speed. It was a really, heart-pumping period. I was thinking, okay, I'll do it after lunch, and then I'll do it in the afternoon, and then I'll do it in the evening. And then finally, I pressed the button, and I could feel that my anxiety grew. So you might wonder, what happened? I've been building this up for 9 months, and then I pushed the button and it was live. So what do you think happened? Well, first of all, a few people reached out and tell me, oh, looks good. Good to finally see you there. Now I know where to find more information. Great. Good job. And some people told me that, well, you should consider this, and you're not a graphic designer, so please think about these principles, and maybe you could consider doing things a little bit different. So they were constructive by giving feedback, and I appreciated that. And most people didn't really care. So over 9 months, I had built this level of anxiety for something that was really important to my business, and that showed up to be not a big deal at all. And during that process, I had labeled myself being a procrastinator. So to conclude that story, and maybe you can see something for yourself in that scenario, or something that is similar to you, or maybe you recognize it in somebody else. I'm a strong believer in colliding values, that there's a reason why we are not acting, and we need to be curious about ourselves to unlock some of that. And instead maybe of labeling ourselves as being a procrastinator, that tends to focus on the wrong things. Instead, you can focus on actually embracing your own values, and then seeing the beauty in that, and also maybe then when you make that decision, really cherish whatever your compromise was, because there is always a compromise in that. So I can see here that there's a comment here. I just want to share that because it's really heartwarming. And Magdalena says she loves that I'm honest and vulnerable, and thank you for that. I'm laughing now, when I think about this short simple story. But I know that similar to this, many people are actually struggling with this. They are putting on hold a number of key decisions in their professional lives. Others has to do with starting their own business, shifting careers, making a huge investment, or doing something else that is of importance. And then when putting it on hold, fail to see that it's all about colliding values. So I hope that you will be in a position then to be nice to yourselves if you discover something in that for you or somebody you care about, that where you see this is happening. So in that case, I would like to encourage you to reflect about this. Maybe it's relevant to you now, maybe it will turn up relevant later on. It's certainly something that is really interesting to discuss with somebody you trust. So either you have a good friend, your better half, or a coach, or somebody else that you can bounce these ideas off with. It helps you see more clearly what could lie behind the apparent procrastination. If you want more stories about these type of phenomenon and incidents and more about unlearning in general, you're welcome to take part of more content on my website, leaderinDemand.com. And there will be another episode next week, and that will have to do with the timing. So unlearning the stories we tell ourselves about timing. The reason why I've chosen that topic for next week is because I never have a client show up telling me today, now is the right time to do exactly this. More often, they claim that it's too late or it's too early. And I hope to be able to address that in an intriguing way next week, allowing us to unlearn from typical patterns that I see. And I'll probably come up with another story from my own experience as well to share with you. So you're welcome back. Let me know if you have any comments or ideas for future topics. I'll be here a number of Thursdays sharing similar topics moving forward. So with that, I'm going to leave you with your reflection. I hope to see you back soon. And until we see each other again, happy unlearning. Take care. Bye.